Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you. I wanted to give you a real quick, real brief, let's hope, update on the 9/11 papers and the Dark Overlord, the things that I'm still looking at. It seems like people have kind of fallen off, and I think that's because layers have stopped coming out and revelations have stopped being made, and it doesn't seem interesting anymore, but I think there's still a lot in there. So again, I'm very upfront, I think, with my bias and with what I'm after. I'm not trying to hide anything about it. I am looking to see if there is evidence of nuclear demolition. Again, very upfront about that. I'm not trying to hide that. If it's in there, I'm gonna find it. I hope. If it's not in there, well, I'm gonna be able to tell you that it's not in there. I think other people are looking for their specific things too, trying to confirm their theories as well, or the things that they believe. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, I think that's great. I think that if each of us take an avenue, then it would be a lot better than all of us trying to research one part of it, and then if we come up with nothing, then there's still 4 or 5 other theories out there that haven't had any chance to be explored. So again, the avenue I'm going down, or the lane that I'm staying in right now, is looking for information about nuclear radiation, bombs, and what have you. So again, some of the reasons that I am after that information: number one, N.E.I.L is listed as a defendant in the subrogation. So they are basically somebody that the lawyers are going after for money. And N.E.I.L, of course, is Nuclear Electric Insurance Limited, and I've done other videos on this. But the idea behind them is they are the only insurance for a nuclear utility. You are required to have insurance through them if you are a nuclear power plant, or you do anything with nuclear radiation, nuclear material, anything like that. N.E.I.L is involved. So again, them being listed as a defendant, to me, seems fishy, because again, what nuclear thing was involved where they need to be paying out for? Going further, there was a USGS study done, and it showed some trace elements and some heavy elements and things like that that were in concentrations maybe they shouldn't have been, for regular bombing, what have you. Regular plane hit a tower and the thing fell down. What could be explaining those things, though, is the presence of nuclear fission. So certain other elements were present, and you can see kind of their curve, for instance, as they increase, as other radioactive materials have decayed. There was a correlation between the two of those, but the main one that is really driving me right now is tritium. Tritium should not be in the basements of the towers. It just shouldn't be. There was a report that claimed that, well, the tritium's there because it was from the exit sign of the planes that crashed into the building, and here's how much was there. And then it was also there, because that's not enough to have accounted for these levels, so we had to find a second source. Oh, and that second source, it was tritium that was inside of gun sights that were stored in this tower. Okay, it would have worked out if all of the tritium from the gun sites and all of the tritium from the exit signs had, perfectly converted into the next elements and the next gas, yada, yada, yada. That could have possibly explained it. But that's not what happened. A lot of those weapons that had the sights that had tritium in them, they were found with minor damages and they were taken. So they didn't leak out their tritium, which means that second source wasn't a second source. Not enough of it came out to account for the amount of trace tritium left. So again, the only thing, one of the major things, or at least the most obvious thing, I guess, obvious, would be nuclear fission. Again, there's a number of things that are kind of pointing in that direction, and that's hopefully what I'll be digging on tonight. I mean, I might sit down, later tonight and go, oh, I really want to look at these Bitcoins again, but hopefully I'll stick on the tritium thing. We'll see, things can change in a matter of hours. But again, there, to me, is evidence and signs of things that do point to nuclear bombs being in the basement or sub-basements, much below the basements of the towers, and them having gone off as part of the destruction. Again, that's what I'm looking for. That's my bias. That's the thing that I want to find, so I'm looking for that. Granted, I did find some info about N.E.I.L, wherein I think the year 2000, they branched out and they started offering another type of insurance to facilities that they currently insured. So if you were insured by N.E.I.L as a nuclear whatever utility, then you could also purchase some sort of supplemental insurance, I think. Again, I have to read through it more, that maybe didn't cover a nuclear event. Again, I'm not sure. That right there, I guess, would be an example of something that would refute my claim of N.E.I.L being involved because of nuke damage. Granted, I don't know if that's what it is as far as the insurance. I don't know how that part of the policy works. I'm still looking at that. But one thing that is interesting, again, why N.E.I.L would be in there, aside from the tritium and all the other stuff, is the number of first responders who have died or who have been diagnosed with cancers that are linked to radiation poisoning. So things like different blood cancers that people have had and things like thyroid cancer. Both of these are indicative of nuclear radiation. Granted, they're indicative of other things too, but that is another, brick in the wall, basically, to me, that says nuclear energy could have been involved in this, and maybe that is why N.E.I.L is involved. Again, if we can narrow it down and figure out why N.E.I.L is being sued, that'll tell us a whole lot about how the towers may have come down. That's it for now. Look for another video later tonight about this.